Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Whatever time you're watching this, thanks for watching Common Sense Talks. So, today's video, we're going to be talking about Dave Chappelle being attacked on stage at a comedy show in Los Angeles. So, a 23-year-old guy had rushed the stage with a replica gun, but they had a blade inside of it. So, he could have stabbed Dave Chappelle basically. He tried to tackle him and attack him, and then he was immediately pulled off the stage, and I'm sure he was beaten up pretty badly. It shows a lot of guys punching and hitting on him. Apparently he had to be taken away in an ambulance, went to the hospital. That's what you get. Play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Now, what does this mean for comedy and for everything in general? This kind of stuff's happened um, a lot of the time throughout history, but it's been very rare. Nowadays, it seems like anybody who even makes jokes or doesn't agree with the left, they're straight unhinged. I mean, literally crazy and attacking people for making jokes. What happened to sticks and stones may hurt my bones, but words will never hurt me. Or sorry, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Or I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you. Our generations are being raised as wimps and wussies. They can't tolerate words they don't agree with. They can't tolerate they can't tolerate ideas that they don't agree with. And what does this mean for comedy when half the country literally will not allow you to tell a joke or discuss an opinion that they don't agree with? And I understand some of their concerns. I'm an independent, so I'm definitely not a hardcore conservative Republican, but I'm definitely not a loony, unhinged lefty. And this, I believe, is the unfortunate consequence of when you prop up and support mental health, not mental health, but mental conditions and mental health issues as not only being a mental health issue or problem, but being normal and okay. For example, transgender used to be called dysphoria. Basically, means that it's a mental disorder. It's not normal, and it's not right for boys to think they're girls and girls to think they're boys. How there is a very few people that were affected with this throughout the years, and it was understood to be a mental problem, an issue, and not okay, and we would try to fix it. But now we affirm it. So when someone's crazy, literally, instead of saying, you're crazy, you need a little help, let's get you some meds, let's get you some counseling, get you some therapy. Now it's let's transgender you from one sex to the other. Or let's take 6-year-olds who have questions and let's give them puberty blockers, destroy their bodies, and just poison their minds. I mean, that's where the left has gone from rioting and looting over insane stuff. So the right, when they lose, when they don't get their way, they don't riot. They don't go insane. They don't burn buildings down. The left would use January 6th, which was bad, but they pretty much stopped. They laid off. They didn't burn and riot and loot and destroy quite like the left does when they set fire to buildings with police officers inside of it. When they go to courtrooms and they go to police precincts that actually have people inside and they barricade them off and they set fire to the buildings. I mean, that's the insanity that the left has. The right, usually doesn't go insane like that. And when they do, there's a rare instance sometimes of some super Bible thumper or crazy unhinged right wing guy, shooting places up or doing something stupid. But the left does it as well. And not only do they do that, but they terrorize on an everyday basis, from destroying our ability to converse and communicate at universities and schools by not allowing speakers they don't agree with, by shutting down counter arguments, protests, or rallies. They'll show up to get violent when they don't agree with you. While the right, on the other hand, will just simply want to have a conversation. And because the left cannot stand on the conversation with logic, They turn to emotion and insults and anger, and it makes sense in a way. The people who vote left are driven ideologically and by their emotions. A left-leaning person uses a certain part of the brain. Usually, they say that the left is more artistic, they're more creative, like art. That's why movies traditionally been left, video games, stuff like that are kind of moving left, because the type of people that are usually a lefty are really driven by their feelings, while someone who is on the right hand side of the spectrum is more of like a logical person, and they go on facts and rules and proven truths and stuff like that. However, there is time for emotion, there is time for feeling, there is legitimate concerns and things that need to be discussed, but in a logical and rational way. That's why this country was so great for so many years, is it brought the two sides together to cooperate. United we stand, divided we fall. And we've got to a point now where if you don't agree with the left's agenda, you're a white supremacist, you're a racist, you're a white cisgender, you're a homophobe, you're this, you're that, every name in the book. And they resort to name calling, they resort to violence, they resort to emotional tactics because they cannot have a logical disagreement. They cannot state their opinions and their stances from a logical perspective, with an open ear and mind to hear the other side and to actually have a debate. They'll think that they have logic and opinion on their side, or not opinion, but logic and facts, and they'll spout what they believe, and they do it in a haughty, I'm right, I know more than you, i'm a I'm a super special person, I graduated with this and that, and I know all this. Yeah, right. They're literally morons in a sense. They have no ability to critically think, and they're in lockstep with each other like a cult. So it's pretty crazy. And to see Dave Chappelle, who, 10, 20 years ago, pot smoking, crazy jokes, and Clayton Bigsby and his Negan Walking Dead stuff. I mean, the guy is a legend, right? Not dazed and confused, but Half Baked, right? All the awesome videos, movies he's been in. You would not paint Dave Chappelle as a right wing or conservative figure, especially the people that he hangs around with, and associates with, are definitely, BLM slash lefty types usually. So, but what happens is, there's a good old saying that evil eats its own. And there's a picture you can find where a snake, representative of evil or the devil, is basically, once it's swallowed everything else and it's eaten everything else in its vicinity, it turns around and it eats its own tail, and then it starts eating itself to death. And that is what is happening right now. We're witnessing the left go so unhinged and so far left. They're falling off a cliff. They're literally eating themselves. And the average American is just flabbergasted by seeing how this has even happened over the last 20, 30 years. I know how it's happened. I know what's caused it, what's going on, from our school systems and our movies, and everything being pushed politically left, from censorship, from big tech being able to steer the conversation, being able to poison and brainwash people via controlling what they see, read, hear, and experience online, which is where we get most of our information now. So instead of being unbiased, instead of being factual and logical, our internet providers, our Facebook, Twitter, all this Reddit, YouTube, all the tech companies have a massive left-leaning, far left-leaning, CEOs, workers, all that drive those companies in an extremely far left position and drive their consumers that way as well. They try to program and teach our youth all this crap. And it gets to a point now where it's become so insane that even the average everyday Democrat type is looking at this and saying, whoa, whoa, wait a minute. I never wanted to have people shooting up needles in the middle of the street in broad daylight. I never intended to have people pooping and peeing all up and down the streets. I just didn't want to kick the homeless out and make them worse. I just didn't want to have the drug people dying from overdoses and AIDS. So I figured clean needles and a safe place to do drugs. They have good intentions, but there's a saying that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So these people are finally, in my opinion, some of them waking up to the damage and destruction that they have caused through their belief system. And now the pendulum is starting to swing the other way. And what happens when that happens, and it frustrates the hell out of me because I'm an independent, is then um, we get insane Republican responses. So the Democrats come out and they want to burn it all down, tear it all down, and they want to abort babies up to like 9 months in or even after birth. Then the Republicans answer back with equally insane stuff like, banning everything, no middle ground, no gray area. It's just like two giant gangs going to war with each other, and they're ideologically separated by this huge divide. And most of us average everyday Americans are somewhere in the middle, or a lot of us lean right. If you look at the two parties and where they were at 30, 40 years ago, a lot of us may have been Democrats or may have been in the middle, maybe even Republican, right? But now you look at where you find yourself and you haven't changed much. You're either considered far right, or super conservative if you're not okay with teaching, second graders about the teachers being gay married people and their sex life and anal sex and all this crazy shit. Or when a third grader says, I want to be a girl or I want to wear a dress, and the teacher's not understanding that's just a child being confused or just wanting to do something, they take it a next step further and actually talk to the kid about the little kid might really be a girl trapped in a boy's body or whatever have you. And they'll start transitioning the child at school without the parents' permission. I mean, it's asininely sickening and crazy how far we have gone in one direction. Inflation's through the roof. They don't understand squat about economics. Everything to them is emotional, and emotion has no place really, or very little place in business, in economics, in a lot of the stuff that we're dealing with right now. And it's hampering and hurting our ability to deal with this Russia Ukraine crap, to deal with our gas prices, diesel prices through the roof, food shortages, item shortages, the coming potential World War III that we might face, and also the Civil War too that we're looking at because we can't get along with each other. And that's mostly to do with the left's inability to listen, to shut the hell up, and to just at least listen to a conservative, to be open to at least having a conversation instead of screaming, yelling, calling names. And it's asinine, and it's just insane, and it's crazy to see. And I think all we're doing is feeding into it as far as by not calling it out and by trying to placate these crazies. For example, Disney, here's a law come out, and the left ban, names that don't say gay, but when in reality, the law just bars discussing any kind of sexual or whatever stuff with the kids that's on that kind of level from a certain grade to a certain grade, which most people agree you shouldn't be talking to toddlers, in second grade. You should be talking about the 5-year-olds about sex. Should be teaching them their colors and shapes and how to read and shit. And shouldn't be worrying and focusing. And you shouldn't be putting this crap into an undeveloped mind like that. You shouldn't be teaching kids that white people are inherently racist or that they have some kind of special privilege when that white little kid might go home to a single mom or a single father, or go home to a poor house where they're eating, shepherd's pie every night for dinner. They're eating rice and beans. They're scraping and living by off of ramen noodles and quesadillas and ham and cheese sandwich and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and wondering, when they go home, They're being told that they're privileged, that they have white privilege, that they're special, that they're treated better and different. But that white kid may not see that, and you're poisoning these people, and vice versa. You're teaching little black kids and Mexican kids and Asian kids that they can't amount to anything or become anything because they're being held back by the man or by the white man, and that everyone's going to hate them and is going to be racist towards them. There's racism and bad things that go on in this country in all forms that shouldn't be allowed, but it goes both ways. You guys don't think that the little white kid in an all black neighborhood doesn't get called cracker or honky, or he doesn't get bullied or picked on and beat up? You don't think that the little white kid in the all Mexican neighborhood doesn't get called gringo, wedo, white boy? You don't think that that's racism? Of course it is, but a leftist wouldn't. It's insane where we've gotten. And the fact that Dave Chappelle can't go up and tell jokes in LA, out of all places, I mean at the comedy club, without being attacked by some in just unhinged insane person is just crazy to me that we've got this far. It shows where our country's at, and I think we really need to come together to stop this, or else we are going to be looking at a civil war too if World War III doesn't get us first. So with that being said, thanks for watching Common Sense Talks. Hope you guys enjoyed this quick little video. Smash that subscribe and like. Leave a comment below and let me know, what do you think about the subject? What do you think about logic versus emotion? What do you think about the liberals and the left versus conservatives and the liberal freedom types on the right? And the culture war that we find ourselves in, and Dave Chappelle being attacked by a fellow black man with a replica gun and a knife inside it at a comedy club, just trying to tell some jokes. And Chris Rock and Jamie Foxx were there. And the funny thing is, Chris Rock, when the guy left and he was being hauled out, Chris Rock joked and said, "Is that Will Smith?" I thought that was hilarious. But anyways, thanks for watching. Tune in on our next videos that we got coming up, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take it easy.